there's great things that can be done in the middle. And it's okay to not always agree on everything, but it sure is important to at least get it out there.
Welcome to Friday Five with Dave Adams. Today, my guest is Scott McFarland, CEO of Honor Credit Union. Honor Credit Union is a $1.1 billion credit union serving 88,000 members. And Scott has been CEO of the credit union for 12 years, but he started his credit union career in 1989 as a teller, believe it or not, and has worked in several different credit unions in different capacities now as CEO. He has worked in credit unions large and small. He is committed to the credit union philosophy. He serves on numerous boards as well as community organizations, CU Solutions Group, CU Answers, Board of Directors, to name a few. I know you're going to enjoy this conversation with Scott McFarland. Well, Scott McFarland, CEO of Honor Credit Union, thank you for joining me on Friday Five.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I love these opportunities to visit with credit union leaders and get better acquainted. I've known you for a lot of years, so getting better acquainted is always fun. But I think for the listeners and viewers in particular, they're going to really appreciate this. And as you know, we always like to start with career journey. And I noted from your bio that you've been CEO there at Honor for 12 years, and I can't believe how the time flies because it does seem like it was just yesterday. But I know you've been in the industry since '89, starting as a teller, and I've observed your involvement, your networking, your leadership, all very impressive. So let's start with that. Tell us a little bit about your career journey with the emphasis on the fun credit union part, which is most of it.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, the career journey has been just that. I always joke that my mom got me my first credit union job, and that's really true. I was a short order cook between my junior and senior year of college, and the branch manager down the road from our house at a credit union in Vassar, Michigan, gave a call to our house and happened to talk to my mom because they were members there and said, hey, any of your kids need a summer job. So I became a floating teller at what was Michigan Federal Credit Union at the time. That has since become Genesis. But I was given the opportunity to float. I was going to get about 10 to 15 hours a week. That doesn't, as with any credit union job, you quickly realize there's a lot more work to do. So I ended up with 40 hours a week, was able to quit the short order cook thing. And when I graduated, I was able to run that branch in my hometown as a branch manager, and then I'm a lending manager into that same organization, and eventually got an opportunity to be a CEO for a little while in Saginaw, Michigan. And then from there, headed to Southwest Michigan, and have stayed here ever since. So was with United Federal Credit Union, worked for Dwayne Nelson for a number of years, went through the merger there with Dave Wyhand, a great credit union person that we lost way too early. And then when Bob McKay, who was an amazing credit union person, believed in it, built it, did a great things at Berrien Teachers Credit Union, when he retired, an opportunity interview, and I was blessed that the board decided that I was going to be the one to take the wheel going forward. And as you said, that was almost coming up on 13 years ago, which is amazing. And I'm blessed to be where I am today, and really do enjoy all that the credit industry has and is, and I think we'll continue to be. I mean, we find ourselves in a great spot, I think, to help our communities and our members. So I've enjoyed it. I always joke, like, I don't remember, it's not one of those things you dream about as a kid. I'm going to be a credit union person someday. But ironically, I hope that I can instill that dream in some people that are maybe getting into the business in the future, because it's been a great opportunity. I've seen some amazing things and as you said, met some incredible people. I still remember the day when I was up in Saginaw as the CEO of Saginaw County Employees Credit Union, and at a chapter meeting, and the new league president was introduced, and there was Dave Adams standing in a conference room in Saginaw, introducing himself to us and telling us about his journey. So I appreciate the years we've been able to work together too.
As do I, almost 23 years ago. It's amazing. A couple of things you commented on. One thing we have in common, and I think this is more common than not, we rely on our parents to kind of introduce us to our working lives. And likewise, my mother introduced me to some pretty great jobs early on during high school. And you mentioned, credit unions are not something you naturally think of. I literally didn't know anything about credit unions other than my buddy had a car loan at a credit union until literally until out of college, I hired on at the Utah Credit Union League. So um, the credit union industry and a career in credit unions isn't necessarily the top of mind go-to career for young people, but boy, what a great industry and what a great career to be considered, and hopefully more young people will think of that. Another thing I wanted to just have you expand on briefly, and that is mentors and mentorship. You mentioned Dwayne Nelson and Bob McKay, Dave Wyhan, all three gentlemen for whom I have tremendous respect. Can you comment just a little bit about your views on the importance of mentoring?
Yeah, it's essential. I mean, it's one of the things that we focus on in our organization for sure. Not even it, but we encourage it throughout for our team. I can tell you that my first mentor, the credit union movement, her name was Becky Armstrong. She was at Mid Valley Credit Union in Mount Morris, Michigan, before it became part of Michigan Federal. And she pretty much told me that if you want to be good at credit unions, learn how to do it all. Learn how to take care of the member and find ways to help those members day in and day out. Dwayne Nelson was a great example of, he introduced me to everybody he knew. And I think that I've taken little bits and pieces from those who have been my mentors in the business throughout the years. Obviously, personally, my mentor is my mom and dad. My dad especially would always, in the business world, said, life isn't fair, get used to it, just keep working and don't be the victim. Work hard, play hard, get after it, and do your best. That's all anybody can ask of you. So showing people how to do the work and taking the action and instilling that in others, and really, I think the other part there, Dave, is as a mentor, just that passion, the passion for what you do. I always say, if you're not having fun, get out. Life's too short. And I think that I continue to have an amazing time doing what I do. I love what I do every day. And I think that if you can set that as a goal for people, that they really do love what they do and they can find value in what they do, and bring value to other people. As a mentor, I think that's one of the biggest things, is instilling that passion and that drive.
And that, as you're speaking there, it strikes me, one of your really great qualities, in my opinion, is how positive you are in your outlook, and that's really contagious. Whether you're talking about the passion for the work, or what really drives you to make you so optimistic and enthusiastic about whatever you're dealing with, and that is a big part of mentoring. Quick comment, and then we'll segue to leadership. When you were talking about mentors, I was flashing back to being a young 25-year-old hiring on at the Utah Credit Union League as a field representative. And the CEO at the time, Don Blazard, I remember him interviewing me and saying, heck, you could have my job in 5 years if you really work hard. And in 4.5 years, they made me CEO of the Utah Credit Union League at the ripe old age of 29. And so, but my point is, when someone believes in you like that, whether it's deserved or not, it's very powerful. So let's just segue to valuable leadership lessons. We've talked about mentorship. We've talked about instilling passion in others, but what are some valuable leadership lessons that you've learned or that you're still learning that you would want to pass on to maybe people who are getting started in leadership positions?
And I think the mentoring and the leadership go hand in hand. And I think in the leadership side, one that I've learned and continue to learn is some of the greatest qualities of a leader are be humble and be vulnerable, be open, and realize that the people that you surround yourself with are going to be the ones that really move things forward with you. One of my rules is nobody works for me, people work with me. If you feel like you're working for me, let's have a conversation, because that's not the relationship that we want to build together. So it's always, as a leader, you learn to fall, pick yourself up, and dust yourself off again. You also learn that leadership isn't attached to a title. it's attached to a willingness to ask questions, be creative. You and I have talked just recently how important it is. You know, there's great things that can be done in the middle. And it's okay to not always agree on everything, but it sure is important to at least get it out there and keep the agendas transparent so that everybody knows where we're going together. Leadership isn't about the competition, it's about designing the ability to compete. And so many times we get lost in that fact. And I think you and I we both know we've worked for great leaders. And those are the ones that inspire, and in reality, they make you stronger. And then we worked for those weaker leaders that are more of I'm in charge, I'm going to tell you where to go and what to do and when to do it. And those are the ones that you write lists down and say, I won't do this when I get an opportunity to work with people. So I think it's always an important component to remind people that it's not title-based. Be humble, be vulnerable, ask questions. I don't like to direct from the top. I really like to see, ask questions and find out what people are thinking and how we can work together to achieve a common goal and vision. And then the biggest thing is promoting that vision and that eternal optimism. Like, hey, if we said we're going to do it, let's go and figure it out.
Man, there's some great nuggets in there. You know, I like to play the guitar a little bit. I'm not going to reach for it and play a song here, but
oh, darn.
Yeah, Tim McGraw has that great song, "Always Be Humble and Kind." That is such a great message for leaders in any era, but in our time in particular. You know, so leading with humility, I really appreciated that. And it's not an easy thing to do, because it is a strength to be confident and self-assured, but you know, showing that humility and reaching for the middle ground is great advice. So that segues to the humility and heart of the credit union movement, and we talk about the credit union difference. In fact, you and I were just on a call with Congressman Fred Upton, who's a huge champion for credit unions, and we talk about the credit union difference with lawmakers. We talk about it internally, but what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to your credit union, and how you try to demonstrate that credit union difference?
It means our survival and the ability to thrive is really what it comes down to. Credit unions have been a stronghold in the financial services industry for a number of years. And ironically, you know, we're in International Credit Union Week, and International Credit Union Day is in October. It just reminds us over and over again how important it is to make sure we never lose sight of those individuals that were brave enough to open the lunchbox and locker. We talk about at our shop, open their lunchbox and locker to their the common bond, and bring people together and provide a solution that, frankly, the financial services industry at the time was not providing. I think we're still doing that, and I hope that we continue to do that and never lose sight of the fact that each individual member comes to us with their financial story and their personal story. And we're there to find ways for them, to empower them, to give them the tools necessary to make sure their financial story is written well, and that they understand those finances are theirs. And we want to help them use those in any way possible. And none of that would be possible, Dave, as you and I both know, without an amazing volunteer board of directors. And the board of directors at Honor had just an amazing group of people that have a clear vision of what it means to be the leaders and the visionaries of a financially owned cooperative in today's world. So credit unions disrupted many, many years ago, and we should still be disrupting and finding ways to help our members in our communities. And it really comes down to, if we take care of the member and our community, I think you'll find that those credit unions are successful and will continue to be into the future. So we've got a lot more to do, and the leaders of today in the movement, we have a lot of weight on our shoulders from those who first got this started. We can never lose sight of that, and we need to make sure that we continue to find ways to bring value to our member owners every single day. And you're right, we have to fight for that and make sure we shout it from the mountaintops and not be the best kept secret.
Really well said, and it made me think about that analogy that perhaps is overused to buildings, and how a structure relies on a strong foundation, and you build from the foundation up and out. And as we're talking, our credit union members, and it's just true of democracy, right? But our credit union members, they're the foundation. They're the ones who drive everything. And so we need to remember that foundation and take care of it. But I appreciated you bringing up the volunteer boards of directors, because they're the kind of the next layer. They're elected from those members, and they come with their heart and with their service orientation. Then they select a CEO. Hopefully we come in and have the same kind of heart and service ethic, and the team members and the staff. And it really does build on that foundation. I appreciate you bringing up the boards of directors who serve without compensation, and who really are all about making sure that we're having an impact. So that is a nice segue to the environment that we're in. And, we're all, speaking of positivity, we're all starting to realize that we're 6 or 7 months into this. The truth with regard to the COVID pandemic, I always say, is somewhere in between the extremes of both parties. Certainly the dire predictions about one party or the other destroying the country are exaggerated. I think the truth is always somewhere in the middle. But, when we talk about the environment we're in, they are tough times. I mean, I hear it said that we're in the calm before the storm. When we were talking with Congressman Upton, he was talking about stresses on the airline industry and the restaurant industry. And yet for credit unions, as we're navigating through COVID, we're the first responders. We're taking care of those essential financial services needs with PPP loans and fee waivers and everything else. But what do you see as you look into your crystal ball at Honor Credit Union, and you look out 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months, and how is it different, and how are you positioning for what lies ahead?
My crystal ball is just that. It's just a piece of glass. We keep talking to our members and to each other, and really what we're trying to do, Dave, is just pay attention to what our members and our communities are seeing. It's a little unsure right now. There's instability. It'd be crazy to say there isn't. What we want to make sure of is that we're not silent in that instability. So we've said from the beginning of this, one, we're not going to use the term new normal, because there's certain things we're doing these days, i.e. staying away from people and mask wearing, that we don't want to ever be normal. So we were saying we're going to be better than before. And we're carrying that to our members and to our communities and saying, how can we help you be better than before? How can we continue to find ways to help you out? And we're seeing some of that with people refinancing mortgages, lowering rates, finding ways to pay things down, because there is some cash that's available right now. How can they make it useful, put it to the best use for them for the future? The other thing is, we've said we'll be the voice in the silence and the calm in the storm. So it is that middle, right? I mean, we aren't going to sit back and just be silent. We're member owned. So what are our members saying? What do they need? And then how do we position ourselves? And we have been blessed. I mean, we've been strong, and I think a lot of credit unions have found that they've been doing a good job for their members, and that's means they've been successful. That's only today. And one of the things we keep saying is the scoreboard for today goes out at the end of the night, and it starts the next day again. Looking out the next 9 to 12 months, I think there's going to be some needs to be filled, and credit unions have to position themselves. And we're looking at that as we look to the coming year and beyond. Like, okay, it is our members' capital. It is our members' money. How do we make good investments and decisions going forward so that we're ready to help our members in their difficult times, whether it might need to be extending some skip-up pays or finding ways to be creative within guidelines and policy, of course. Be creative, make sure people stay in their homes during what might be a temporary challenging time. I mean, you and I have had those conversations, and it's a big deal. The other thing is we work legislatively. If we see things that are challenging, rough seas ahead, then I think you do what anybody else does, is you batten down and you make sure you protect. And that's our 88,000 members. We need to be able to protect them, because they depend on their own financial institution to do the right thing and take care of them during the storm. I don't think it'll last forever. We're resilient. As Americans, we're resilient. And 99% of the time, I think all of us as individual citizens can outsmart Washington, D.C. So I think in the end, we
Yeah.
just need to remember that, never give up that ownership of who we are and what we can do together, and just convey that message over and over. Find ways to find solutions. Will it all be rosy? Mm-mm. We'll bump up against some rocks along the way. I'm sure all of us will. But if we do it together, I think we'll be stronger in the end. Thus, the essence of a financial cooperative.
Well said. So well said. And I love the reference to resiliency of the American public. And we need to believe in ourselves, and we need to help our lawmakers understand that those are our views as well. We're always better when we have, a minimum of government intervention. We need it in some cases with consumer protection, but
Yeah.
I love that. I also, the sports metaphor, the metaphor to sports kind of segues to the last question, which is your personal passions. And you certainly speak a little bit like a father of football players. And I know you have a passion for your family and for your faith, and would love to learn more about what really drives Scott McFarland and outside the office when you're not working long hours.
Absolutely. I tell everybody that I'm married way up. I have an amazing wife. You know, Beth. She's smarter than me. She's more athletically inclined than me. She does everything better than I do. I eat more than she does. That's the only thing I can beat her at. And you are right. I mean, my priorities, I tell every team member that comes on board, it's God, family, country. Those are my top three. Everything else is fourth. And I just keep it that way. And when they get out of order, things get a little gnarly. So yeah, I have the number one leader in my life is Jesus Christ. That's just what it is. I believe that. I mean, his teachings and his word showed a lot of examples of how we should treat each other. Number two is family. I mean, I love my kids. One of the things I love doing outside of the office is I love to coach. I am in my sweet spot. And when I'm on a football field coaching, I've been blessed to be able to coach Pee Wee Rocket football, we call it over here, for 14 years. And the last couple of years, I've been coaching junior high. Actually, worked out a system this year where I'm able to go coach junior high and coaching a junior high team. And I love to be able to teach kids, hard work and dedication and setting a vision, a goal is a fun thing to do. And so a lot of that, like, it converts into the business world too. You have your field of play, you have your scorecards, you have your goals, and then the other thing is right outside my home office here. I live in a beautiful part of the country. Southwest Michigan is amazing. I'm a very happy transplant to Michigan's great Southwest. We enjoy some boating, fishing, hunting right down the road. So anything I can get outdoors and do, I really do enjoy that. And those are happy places for me. And I'm thankful for it every single day. And then just to be able to work with the organization I do that reflects those values and knows that it is really about the people, right, Dave? I mean, that's what makes it fun, is the people, all the different ones you get to encounter and interact with, and that is an enjoyable part of both personal and professional life.
Well, all of that's very impressive. I mean, there's no question that Scott McFarland has a compass, and I love your reference to faith, family, and country, and to project that to your team members and to respect their need to have those kinds of values in their lives and to have a work personal life balance is just so important. By the way, it's pretty cool for Buchanan to be named
awesome?
one of the best towns in America, the best #1 town to live in America. Was that USA Today, or was it? Do you remember?
It was Reader's Digest.
Okay.
It was Reader's Digest. So yeah, they're right. That's the town that I live in Berrien Springs, and our ops center is there. We have a branch in Buchanan, but that is originally that's the town that brought me down here, because United Federal's main office is right in Buchanan. So they were named the nicest place to live the 2 days after their football team knocked my son out of the game with a concussion. So it was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Right, and I understand Mitch
Album.
Yeah, tiny little Buchanan, Michigan, something like 7,000 residents.
Small town.
Reading, and Mitch Album had something to do with that. I believe he was on the selection committee. But some examples given were how the local folks found a way to honor veterans during COVID. And yeah, there's some really inspiring stories about how tiny little Buchanan, Michigan made the #1 ranking.
It is pretty impressive. I mean, it's a town that's kind of clawed back. That was the world headquarters of Clark Equipment Company when Clark was still in business. That's how United came about, as Clark Employees Credit Union. And Clark Equipment is long since gone. And at one point, it was a much bigger community, but they have a tremendous amount of pride. We have about 40 team members that live in Buchanan, and I have a number of very close friends there. And it's a quaint, small town, but the amount of community pride there it definitely is overflowing, and
Well, way to represent,
reflected in how they treat each other. So,
way to represent all the great small Michigan towns, and get ready for a flood of tourists.
it's probably Chicago has already found Buchanan. I think that's been a big part of it. So
yeah. Well, Scott McFarland, thank you so much for joining me on Friday 5. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure that everybody listening and watching has come away with a better understanding of what makes you tick and what makes your credit union successful. So thank you very much.
thanks, Dave. It's always a pleasure to catch up.
Wow, thanks again to Scott McFarland, CEO of Honor Credit Union. I really enjoyed that conversation. I've known Scott probably the whole time I've been in Michigan, the last 23 years, but more recently in his capacity as CEO and from his service on the CUSG board of directors. But I love Scott's reference to mentoring and having a passion for what we do and sharing that with our team members. The importance of humility and leadership. Getting back up when we're knocked down, realizing that being CEO or a leader, it's not about the title, it's about finding consensus and working together as teams. I love Scott's reference to understanding with the credit union difference that we need to remember our roots and the founders, and the same principles that gave us our beginnings are true today. And finally, in these times of uncertainty, to make sure that we're not silent, make sure we're speaking up and making a difference for our members. And I loved his slogan of "Be better than before" is what the Honor Credit Union team is striving for. So a great conversation. Thank you for watching and listening to Friday 5 with Dave Adams.